Ghana's president, we are jettisoning the program, Mahama said. We are bound by it, but what we're saying is within the program, it should be possible to make some adjustments to suit reality. Ghana's Electoral Commission declared Mahama, who was in office from 2012 to 2016, winner of the presidential poll with 56.55% of the vote. The president-elect of the world's #2 cocoa producer inherits a nation emerging from its worst economic crisis in a generation with turmoil in its vital cocoa and gold industries. Economic hardship. The economic situation is dire, and I'm going to put my soul, physique, and everything into it and focus on making lives better for Ghanaians, said Mahama, whose National Democratic Congress party also won comfortably in a parliamentary vote held on December 7th. He said that the multiplicity of taxes agreed to as part of the IMF program had made Ghana unpleasant for business. We also think that the IMF have not put enough pressure on the government to cut wasteful expenditures. He said, adding a review would aim to tighten our belt, he must also tighten his, he said. Mahama said the IMF had agreed to send an early mission to conduct a regular review, adding discussions would focus on how to smoothen out the debt restructuring. That is now in its final lap. He said a revised IMF deal would also seek sustainable solutions to the energy problems to avoid sustained power out and the Resilience and Sustainability Facility and second review under the Standby Credit Facility. The fund reiterated Rwanda's economic growth forecast of 8.3% this year and 7.05% from growth of 8.2% last year to the IMF said. Rwanda's economy has shown resilience, supported by robust growth in key sectors and a recovery in agricultural production. Inflation has remained stable within the central bank's target range, reflecting effective monetary policy actions, it said. However, the economy continues to face external vulnerabilities, including a widening current account deficit and exchange rate pressures. A meeting with the presidents of Rwanda and Democracy to see a rare face-to-face meeting between the Central African leaders in Angola, where long run now have a new problem on their hands. Fuel shortages. Many gas stations across the island have been shorted for days as an unusually severe shortfall has left in the capital. People have slept here in lines so they don't lose their spot. The latest crisis comes on the heels of 3 nationwide blackouts in 2 months that left millions in the dark for days, prompting the communist-run government to temporarily close schools and non-essential industry. Cuba has yet to provide an explanation for the most recent shortfall. Only a comparative trickle of fuel has been served in Havana since Wednesday, according to a government application that records deliveries to individuals' gas stations, official U.S. trade embargo, which complicates Cuba's financial transactions, making it more difficult for the government to purchase fuel on the spot market. Cuba's longtime allies have reduced fuel shipments this year. Venezuela has to react if the president-elect Donald Trump slaps a 25% tariff on U.S. Of course, we would respond, and I'm confident that it would be effective, Freeland told reporters. Trump has said he will keep the tariffs in place until Canada clamps down on drugs and migrants. A Canadian government source said while all options for retaliation were on the table, ministers and officials were nowhere near taking any of the decision. Although, Freeland said, Ottawa and the provinces would need to present a united front, some provincial premiers are unhappy about the proposed response. Scott Moore, premier of the western province of Saskatchewan, said export taxes would be a complete betrayal by the taxes on these commodities would be a self-destructive response to U.S. tariffs, as they would only increase the harm to our economy. Two trial court judges had similarly done so, prompting complaints by conservatives, including Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell, who railed about an unprecedented spate of judges on retiring post-election. Republican Senator Tom Tillis, who had fought to prevent Biden's pick to fill Wynn's seat from winning Senate confirmation, said on X that Wynne had engaged in a blatant attempt to turn the judicial retirement system into a partisan game. Wynne sent his letter a day after Biden's nominee to succeed him. North Carolina's Solicitor General Ryan Park formally withdrew from consideration after his path to win election court, a deal that cleared the way for votes on about a dozen of Biden's remaining trials. Leader Chuck Schumer has said all four lacked sufficient to fill upon taking office on January 20th. But two vacancies were contingent on two Democrat-appointed judges following through on their plans to leave active service. Those judges included Wynne, 70, who in January announced plans to take senior status contingent on a successor being confirmed. On Friday, he told Biden he had changed his mind. I apologize for any inconvenience I may have caused, Wynne wrote. An Article 3 project, a group run by Trump ally Mike Davis, late Friday announced it had meanwhile filed judicial misconduct complaints against the two trial court judges who likewise rescinded retirement plans post-election. Former U.S. President Donald Trump speaks to members of a court document filed on Saturday showed. Accused Stephanopoulos of making the statements with malice and a disregard for the truth. It said the statements were distributed widely to third parties and repeated. We are pleased that the parties have reached an agreement to dismiss the lawsuit on the terms in the court filing, an ABC News spokesperson said in a statement. The lawsuit cites a March 10 interview with U.S. Representative Nancy Mace, a Republican who has spoken publicly about being... Jumpstart your morning with the latest legal news delivered straight to you from ATN. Mass bargaining chips to kick off talks with a new U.S. administration on contentious aspects of bilateral ties, including trade and investment, and science and technology. Giant in negotiation with the U.S. rather than just an imposition of tariffs, and everyone walks away. HSBC's chief Asia economist Fred Newman said, China is better prepared to deal with almost any tariffs short of an Armageddon, and wants to sit down with Trump before he places more curbs on U.S. high-tech exports and to secure the renewal of the U.S. China Service and Technology Agreements, said Alicia Garcia, Herrero chief economist for the Asia-Pacific. August and negotiations over its renewal are unlikely to be completed before Trump's January 20th inauguration. Syrian Christians attended regular Sunday struck in notes of caution. We're scared. We're still Melkite Catholic Church. Basar said she had barely left her home since HTS took over 1 week ago, though she said that nothing had happened to warrant her concern. Among an Assad stronghold, Lina Akras, a parish council secretary at the state's George St. George Greek Orthodox Cathedral, said on Sunday that Christians had been comfortable under his rule in terms of freedom of belief, but they just wanted to live in peace and harmony. Assad's fall happened all of a sudden. We didn't know what to expect. Thank God we received a lot of assurances and we saw in our beautiful Syria, Akras added. Syria is home to multiple ethnic and religious minorities, including Christians, Armenians, Kurds, and Shiite Muslims. The Assad Israeli military said its air and ground forces in the north of the enclave killed area in the central Gaza Strip, killing Ahmed al-Lour, a video journalist for Al Jazeera TV, I beg your pardon, and 5 other people, medics and fellow journalists said. Another strike on al-Lour was working when he was killed and condemned Israel. The Israeli military said the strike had targeted Hamas and Islamic Jihad militants operating from Gaza's Civil Defenses Nusayrat office. It named al-Lour as a member of the militant group Islamic Jihad without proving or providing evidence. Al Jazeera did not immediately comment on the Israeli allegation, but has condemned previously the Gaza war as members of militant groups. Israeli military said that 3 Gaza City houses belong to militants planning imminent attacks. It said steps were taken to reduce risk to civilians, including the use of precise munitions and aerial surveillance. The military issued a photo showing the weapons it seized in Beit Lahia that included explosives and dozens of grenades. In southern Gaza's Khan units, medics said that at least 20 people, including women and children, were killed when an airstrike hit a shelter housing displaced families. In Beit Hanon, residents said Israeli forces besieged families sheltering in Khalil al-Wida school before storming it and ordering them to head towards Gaza City. Qatar will reopen its embassy in Syria on Tuesday after it was closed for more than 13 years. The Gulf country's foreign ministry said on Sunday, a week after Bashar al-Assad was removed from power. Qatar's embassy in Damascus has been shut since July 2011, when it withdrew its ambassador from Damascus after a series of deadly crackdowns by Assad's regime on protesters. Violence that led to the 13-year long-lived civil war. Doha in recent years did not join efforts by several Arab countries to mend relations with Assad's government and re-establish diplomatic 2 days after its intelligence chief visited the Syrian capital. In the first statement, the new administration that toppled Assad announced that it would respect all government institutions, the United Nations and other international organizations. Gola told reporters in Ankara in comments authorized for publication on Sunday, "We think that we need to see what the new administration will do and to give them a chance." When asked whether Turkey was considering military cooperation with the new Syrian government, Gola said Ankara already had military cooperation and training agreements with many countries. Turkey is ready to provide the necessary support if the new administration requests it, he added. Since 2016, Turkey has mounted 4 military operations across growing swaths of northern Syria, citing threats to its national security. Turkey is estimated to maintain a few thousand troops in towns including Afrin, Azaz, and Jarablus in northwestern Syria, and Ras al-Ain and Tel Abyad in the northeast. Ankara may discuss and re-evaluate the issue of Turkey's military presence in Syria with the new Syrian administration when necessary conditions arise, Gola said. Eliminating terrorists, Turkey's priority remains the elimination of the Kurdish YPG militia, part of a US-backed Syrian opposition group, and it has made this clear to Washington, Gola said. The Syrian Democratic Forces SDF, which controls some of Syria's largest oil fields and is the main ally in the US coalition against Islamic State militants. It is spearheaded by the YPG, a group that Ankara sees as an extension of the outlawed Kurdish Workers' Party PKK, whose militant fighters have battled the Turkish state for over 40 years. In a new period, the PKK-YPG terrorist organization in Syria will be eliminated sooner or later, Gola said. Members of the organization coming from outside Syria will leave Syria, and those who are Syrian will lay down their weapons. Gola said Turkey saw no sign of a resurgence of Islamic State in Syria. Contrary to the U.S. view, has anyone heard of any attacks by Daesh terrorists in Syria in the last 3 years? We don't see or hear anything about Daesh at the moment, he said, using the area for the coalition to stay in power. The coalition government agreed in 2022 to raise tax rates to increase the defense budget, but stiff opposition among lawmakers has delayed implementation of the move. North Korean state media KCNA on Monday reported on the South Korean parliament passing President Yoon Suk Yeol's impeachment vote on Saturday. Yoon was impeached in the second vote by South Korea's opposition-led parliament over his short-lived attempt to impose martial law, which shocked the nation. KCNA had reported for the first time $2 billion trade surplus in November, double the figure expected by analysts as exports jumped and imports came in below market forecasts, official data showed on Monday. The trade data is among a host of economic indicators the central bank will consider as its monetary policy review on Wednesday, with analysts expecting it to leave key rates unchanged. The rupiah strengthened slightly after the trade data, but remained near 4-month lows against the dollar. The November surplus was the The 50 level separates growth from contraction, and the business activity. Such strength hasn't been seen since 2008 when the global financial crisis hit, suggesting strong private sector expansion in a current production, new orders and employment, said Int Lam economics at HSBC. The expansion in new domestic orders quickens, suggesting a pickup in growth momentum in the economy. A stronger rise in demand was mainly reflected in the PMI for the dominant services sector, which rose to a 4-month high of 60.8 from 58.4 in November, while the index for manufacturing was 57.4, up from 56.5 last month. Service providers led the rise in sales, with a new business sub-index touching the sales, with the former recording a faster increase than the latter. That improved the business outlook for 2025, and overall optimism rose to its highest since September last year and prompted companies to ramp up hiring additional staff at the fastest pace. Percent forecast by economists and down from a 4-month high of 2.36 in October. Food prices rose from 8.92% in November compared with an 11.6% increase in October, with vegetable prices